everyone. Welcome to FreeThinkers Fireside, where we put the human in humanist. One cozy chat at a time. My name is Helen, also known as House Bells, and tonight we're going to talk to Emily Shine, a volunteer for recovering from religion and also awesome human being. So let's say hi to Emily. Hi, Kyle. By the way. All right. Yeah, there we go. Hi, Emily.
Hello. Awesome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me on. Hi, Cosmic Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle's one of my bobs. He does a lot of astrophotography. I have several of his
Ooh.
photographs, and because I'm doing a space theme in my bedroom when I actually paint and put stuff up. I have intention,
Yeah,
like so.
that's
You
awesome.
need that
Yeah.
up on my wall, Kyle. It will happen. I promise. So,
Does Kyle sell his prints or anything?
yeah, he does. Yeah, I bought
Oh,
I bought a couple. I was going to see if I'll go get the blood moon. I'll be right back. So he did this one.
oh, I like that. And that's
Yeah. So
photography, not art.
that's
Well, like it's
photography.
art, but
Yeah.
like not like drawn art.
No, this is photography. So
Oh, wow.
and
That's awesome.
he posted a picture of it, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah,
So go to
that's
Cosmic
crazy.
Kyle and he'll look at his astro. I'm sure he has an Instagram. So hi, sounds
Yeah.
like better. So anyway,
Hello.
but I think yeah, you need to promote your stuff, Kyle. I think if you have an Instagram, put it in the chat. So this way people can buy your shit. Because you get it, it's really pretty. Anyway, Emily, tell the people who you are and what you do in the activist space and such.
Yeah, so yeah, hi, my name's Emily. Like Helen said, I volunteered with religion, or I volunteered with recovering from a religion, not religion. I started volunteering with them in 2019, and I originally found them as more like a client when I left religion around 2017. And then 2 years later, I started volunteering, and that's actually how I met Helen, because Helen used to help co-host the RFRX shows and at the excursion, and that was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, and mostly recovering from religion now. I feel like at some point I volunteered with like a little bit of everything there, but currently I mail out ambassador supplies. So I help direct their ambassador program, which with Steve, which I think he was on maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't
Yeah.
remember when Steve was on, but yeah,
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
he's my ambassador co-director, and yeah, we mail out supplies for people, so tabling supplies, stuff like that. And then most recently, actually last month, I just became a board member of Secular Student Alliance. So I'm really excited about that. This is my first time on a board. So I'm like, woohoo,
Oh,
so
you
excited.
advanced in the secular world there, lady.
I
So,
know, yeah. Yeah, so I was involved with SSA when I was in college. They're a great
oh, okay.
organization. I definitely recommend them. And even if you're not in school, I think there's still ways to get involved, like at their annual conference. They have a lot of really cool and interesting talks. I know Matt Dillahunty was there last year, and I can't remember if Arden Hart came or not. Maybe she did, but I don't remember. Either way, a lot of cool speakers. So yeah, there's SSA, and then let's see, what else am I involved in? And then yeah, I guess I just moved to Salt Lake City in January, a couple months ago. And I help co-host events with Lost and Found Club. They're more of a local secular group. They don't have chapters or anything yet outside of Utah. Maybe someday, because I feel like they're growing pretty quickly. But yeah, so I co-host little events with them just in Salt Lake once a month. We just kind of meet at restaurants. It's pretty low key and casual, but it's pretty fun. And then when I still lived in Kentucky, I helped co-host their American Atheist group. We had weekly dinners and then just one-off activities for people to get together, like movie nights, brunches. So kind of the same thing at Lost and Found that I do. And yeah, I really like it. I love both like seeing the national side of the secular
Yeah.
movement, but also getting involved with the local communities. So it's really great to work with people. And I feel like it's a little bit different both ways, because I feel like on the national side, it's more like online volunteering, whereas on the local level, it's a lot of like in-person interacting. So it's kind of cool
Right.
to experience both of those, and also the different kind of events, because I feel like the local ones can be like more laid back, whereas maybe the more national ones, I don't know if like serious is the right word, but I guess both have different vibes a little bit, and they're both like fun and at different times. So yeah.
Um, I haven't done local activism, mainly because I've become a hermit.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess during COVID, I feel like local groups might have taken a big hit, which I definitely have noticed with my
well,
groups for sure. Because yeah,
I know there's a secular person that lives in my town because they saw, I think they saw that I was, and I think they saw me on like an RFRX talk, and then
uh
they found me
huh,
on Facebook, and they're like, "Oh, you live in this town? I live there too." And I was like, "Oh, cool. We haven't met in person, but we
and they
live the
live in your
same town."
neighborhood.
No, they live in my city, so
Uh
my
huh.
town. Port Charlotte,
Well,
it's
that's cool.
Port Charlotte town. Yeah, city.
Yeah, are you still in
Yeah,
Florida or?
I bought a house last year here, girl. Like, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay, I was gonna say,
I'm
have
gonna
you
be
been
a
to?
weird atheist queer living in Florida for as long as possible and be like super fucking mouthy.
Yeah, Florida is a crazy place to be right now.
So
That's for
so you grew up Mormon, right?
yes. Yep.
And you just moved to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, yeah, no, I grew up Mormon in Kentucky. I've never been Mormon in Utah. I've actually only been
Wow.
involved in ex-Mormon groups. I will say the ex-Mormon community is super strong in Utah, and just I think the
Yeah.
secular community in general is just really strong. I will say the events I've been to with Lost and Found Club in Utah have been way better than any of the events I could have ever put on with like Lexington Atheist. Not that the events were bad; it was still like great events, but like quantity wise, like I could never get as many people to show up as I could at like the Utah events. Like we have filled like whole venues, and Lost and Found Club
Ooh.
does an event called Reclaiming Girls Camp. It's basically like reclaiming church camp activities, but in a secular way. And it's really similar
Ooh.
to Recovering from Religion's Fall Excursion. And I actually flew out for it last year because I was like, that's a whole weekend. That's worth it. And yeah, they filled up like a whole campground. I think like they sold out like in 30 minutes, like 200 tickets. So the secular community here like really, really, really thrives. And I think that could be like due to part of people leaving religion at really high rates, like especially after COVID. That kind of helps because like all those people want to find community. Whereas I guess I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like Kentucky's still pretty religious, so I don't know why the group. Maybe it's just because people are more spread out and it's more rural. So
Yeah.
because like the more country you get, the more spread out people are going to be, and that's kind of harder to organize groups. Whereas Utah is very like condensed. I feel like
So
so.
hi Miss Non Sequitur. Hi Jason. Hi look at the trees. Hi honeys. So my friends say hi my friends. So Kyle did post his link to his photography in the chat, but I'm also going to put in doobly doo for people that come here in the future. They can also, they're like, hey, I want to get pictures too, and I'll put it in the doobly doo. So we're going to do that. So that'll be a thing.
Okay,
Anyway,
awesome.
so I know we have, like, the thing is though, I think like I was looking for like secular groups in my area, and it was just not like it was, they met at really weird times, and I think it's because it's probably
Mm-hmm.
older people,
Mm-hmm.
because I live where the median age is like 55 plus, and a lot of them are retirees, and I still work, and I work at 9 to 5. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I can't go to like a secular event at like noon. So all my shit has been online. I haven't really, I guess like my friend group are either like pagan or atheist, like some brand of like, we don't do church. We don't
Mm-hmm.
do religion. Um, so, but I haven't really plugged into a lot of the, atheist community. I know they're here because if anything, when we went to the hands off protest, there were like over 2,000 people that were like
Mm-hmm.
liberally minded. So I know they exist. I just haven't plugged into them in my city. So
Yeah, that's a really good point because I feel like the group, something I've noticed is the host of the group tends to reflect the attendees. So a lot of times, like if you have an older host, you'll have older people who attend. And I feel like that's true because like my secular groups in Kentucky were mostly older people. when I first started attending, but like as I started hosting my own events, young people slowly started showing up, and we kind of got a group together of younger
Oh yeah,
people
but
with
now you're
like
telling me I
their
have to have
moving.
responsibility now, though. Like I'll have to do things.
Yeah, but it's true though. Like I know it's like discouraging at first. Like it's like, oh, it's all these old people. I don't want to hang out with them or something like that. But like if you stick around, other people will say the same thing because like a young person will come and say like, oh, it's all old people, and then they'll stop showing up. But if you kind of stick around, they'll eventually stick too because they're like, oh, look, another young person or another woman or another XYZ
Yeah.
demographic, right? Like, because yeah, that's a big complaint. I feel not just secular groups, but any groups. Like people will think like, oh, it's only this demographic, but the truth is, if you keep coming, oh, is the guest away the Kentucky atheist? Yes, I knew about him through recovering from religion because I think he joined us. I don't
I was
remember what
on Joe's
volunteer.
channel. I was on Joe's channel
Oh,
3 weeks ago. Yeah.
okay.
We because Robin and like she hangs out on all the chats and stuff. And she
Uh
saw me
huh.
on another podcast and it's like, you need to talk to Joe. And I was like, she's here. Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve.
Yeah.
Hi, honey. So,
Hello.
uh, and they were like, hey, you need to go on Joe's channel. And then I like DM'd him and I was like, Robin said that we have to be friends. So, he's going to be on my channel, sometime in June, if I
Oh,
remember.
okay. Awesome. I'll
The
have to go to
apostate
his. That
sisters are
sounds
gonna,
fun.
yeah, the apostate sisters are going to be here um, next Thursday. And they grew up in like a really weird cult. Um, so that would be an interesting conversation because I haven't. I've been intentionally not looking at any other content in regards to their cult because I kind of want to have it all fresh. I know that it
Mm-hmm.
was a very weird, like, very like niche sort of cult they were involved in. So I'm very excited to have that conversation. And Nancy, if she shows up tonight, is also my internet wife. So
Oh, what's up? I know, speaking of cults, I've recently looked up stuff about the Yellow Deli and I learned a little bit about them. So that
the
was kind of
Yellow
interesting.
Deli.
Yeah, I don't know a whole ton about it, but I stumbled upon their Wikipedia page. It's run by a cult called 12 Tribes, and they set up like the Yellow Deli. It's a cafe, and I think they don't get, I don't know if they get paid or not. It might just be volunteer work, and it's really long hours, and it's actually like kind of sad to read about. And the Yellow Deli is like essentially a front for them. And
Are
surprisingly,
they
like I guess they're legally operating somehow.
Jewish? Are they Jewish? Is that the 12? I'm like,
Yeah,
yellow
I think so.
Ithaca. Oh,
They might be a
okay.
very removed descent of Judaism. Oh yeah, someone said when I lived in Tennessee, I ate there a lot. So yeah, I guess they're in
Okay.
Tennessee too.
Oh, okay. Right on. A cult and good food. So,
Yeah. So yeah, some
um,
cults have a little bit of a front to them too. So which I guess like that
I
reminds me,
know.
one of my friends in my secular group in Kentucky, he repairs espresso machines for work, and he got to repair an espresso machine at the Scientology temple in Cincinnati. And I think they did like try to convert him. He said it was a very eerie experience. But yeah, I mean, he got paid to do it. So
I've driven. There's a Scientology, the big one that L. Ron Hubbard was part of in Clearwater. I've driven past it, and I was just like, it's so weird, because
mm-hmm.
I know all about it, and I'm just like, oh this place is scary. So,
Yeah.
but I got so I'm going to mention this podcast again because it's my favorite. But I talk about this podcast. It's called Behind the Bastards, and they did a deep dive into the Zezians, which we did a story.
Mm-hmm.
The nonprofits did a story on. They're a weird cult. It is so much pop culture. There's Jedi's involved and wizards and how to build an ethical AI. And one of the cult members murdered someone on a border in Vermont. So, but
That's crazy.
like
I haven't heard of that one.
but they're like but the thing is though, like the leader, like she's a trans woman and she was living in Silicon Valley, and she would do like a 40-hour work day, and they're like, no, you need to stay longer and not get paid because that's what they do to advance. And she's like, no, you're not paying me for, so I'm going to leave. And she got fired. So
Wow. Right. I mean, that's
200
kind of a
quit.
good
I don't
job
know.
too.
So it's like somebody started out with like some good ideas, and they're vegetarian, vegan or vegetarian, and then it turned to drugs and weird cult stuff, and then like a Harry Potter fanfic was involved. Like it's a whole thing, and it is fascinating. I highly recommend you listen to those, and they do other cults too, but like that was the most recent one that I was just like, what the fuck, like the twin flames and all those weird cults. They're the internet is a cesspool for cults. So
Hmm. Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder. We were talking about Mormonism earlier, and I know like
yeah.
post-COVID, they've changed their missionary program a bit to where like I don't think they do door knocking anymore. They just outreach on social media. And I know Eric says like he thinks that they might be more successful that way because finding someone gullible to join Mormonism might be easier like on the internet than in person just door knocking.
Oh,
Because like I
that's why.
think, yeah.
No, keep going. I'm listening.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like if people are gullible to join Mormonism, like they'll more likely like be on the internet, I guess, because that's a wider net of people than like just knocking on people's doors. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder like what they do all day because I know Eric said when he was a missionary, like he would spend a lot of times like door knocking, and now they don't do that anymore. So maybe they just spend their time messaging people on social
I
media.
know,
I don't know.
I know some of them go to like college campuses because then you get a wide variety of young people that are, in that vulnerable place of where they're going to
Hmm.
go. So I think, and also like if you're a missionary, that's where you want to go, instead of going to door knocking where you're going to get a door slammed in your face because nobody likes to be interrupted, on a weekend or whatever. But if you're at a college campus with peers,
Hmm.
you're gonna have more influence, I think. So um that's kind of like my thinking because I know like Anthony Mann Bosco has like interviewed people, Mormons on campus, at a camp because
Hmm.
he'll go there to do like street epistemology. So I'm like, that makes more sense if you're not doing door knocking, like going to like college campuses or where there's a lot of people and you just talk to them and it makes like in my brain it makes sense. Because I don't
Yeah.
like being. I have a whole thing like no solicitors, no proselytizing. If you start talking, you owe me $50 a minute. So on my front
Oh
door.
my gosh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I feel like college campuses could be a good tactic for them, I guess, because I know the Mormon church I had in Kentucky, they would have something called, well, I think they have it everywhere. It's called Institute. And at least in Kentucky, it's a network of like all the nearby colleges, and it's like every Wednesday or Thursday evening or something like that. And it's basically just kind of like a Mormon history class you get to take. And I guess they combine like social activities with it too, so people will want to come. And it's just kind of their version of campus ministry. So I guess that could be appealing to people. Because I know like even state schools they'll have campus ministry, so I guess that's one way to get people. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
which is what I like about Secular Student Alliance, because I feel like almost every college out there has campus ministry, but a lot of places don't have something for explicitly secular people. So hopefully
I'm trying
Secular
to think
Student Alliance does pretty well in some schools. But
because like SCF was my community college.
uh-huh.
They had a chapel and they had a Christian, thing, whatever. I didn't see a lot for like there were secular clubs, like you go to like chess club or math club or drama or whatever. That those existed, but there wasn't like you're secular. Come hang out with other
Mm-hmm.
secular people, and we have like they do like science night. That
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a thing. And then when I did my BA, I went to USF, but it was basically like a day night school. There wasn't it was people like adults that were there were some people too, but mostly like in my classes, it was like especially as night school, it was a lot of older people that were like going back to school, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was in that demographic, so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know Secular Student Alliance, I think they're slowly expanding into middle schools and elementary schools and stuff like that too. Because I know Satanic Temple has something called After School Satan as an alternative to Good
Yep.
News Club. Which reminds me, like when I was in elementary school, I remember we had Good News Club, and I kind of wonder if they'll ever get an after school Satan club like where I went to elementary school in Kentucky. That would be pretty cool. But I don't
Right.
know. I don't
Oh,
really know anyone in elementary school.
I
So,
would love if the Florida schools got taken over by like the Satan. Hi, Niecy. Hi, honey. So I would be very happy if the Satanic Temple did a whole bunch of Satan clubs and schools in where I live, and
mhm.
because there's a lot of Moms for Liberty groups. There was a big scandal with one of them that
Oh,
happened.
really?
Yeah, and she was in Ron DeSantis's pocket, and then so side note, so she was running for the school board in Sarasota County, and she was like Ron DeSantis, who is terrible. She wanted to really move up in government, and was kind of promoting this whole anti woke agenda, type of stuff. But then and also queer people stuff. But then you find out that she was having threesomes and sex with another woman. And during this whole thing where she's saying queer people are terrible. So there's that. And also her husband SA'd the woman they were sleeping with. And it was a whole scandal. It was bad. And she was like one of these moms. Yeah. So that's the type of stuff that's happened.
Is that chapter of Moms for Liberty still around, or did it get defunct after that?
No, it's still there because she was adjacent to it and they voted her on. I think she made it on the school board in Sarasota County around the same time. I had to double check. But this type of stuff that happens, I just thought it was really funny because I was just kind of the hypocrisy of the whole thing. So, but okay, so I'm going to actually move into what you wanted to talk about tonight instead of us talking about cults and other weird shit. Thank you, PC, for doing the link thing. That's why, I'm so glad that she's here. She's wonderful. Prattman and Crystal, she shows up everywhere. If there's an atheist content creator that she is
really?
not. Yeah, and she's usually a mod, and yeah, so she's everywhere. So she's a wonderful human being. Anywho, so how long have you been an active participant in the atheist space? Activist space.
Ooh,
that was the word I was
good
looking
question.
for.
It's kind of hard to say a definite start because I guess it depends on what counts. Because online. Maybe, because I feel like I kind of started questioning my faith and finding recovering from religion and similar organizations, maybe around 2017. But I don't know if I'd consider that to be activism on my part. It was just more so I was involved in the secular community as a participant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, I started volunteering with RFR around 2019, and then my local groups, during COVID, there wasn't anything really going on with those, obviously. But around 2021, when in-person things started to get back up going and stuff like that, is when I started helping co-host my local groups. So I'd say maybe about 2021 as far as activism goes. But I guess as far as online space, maybe since 2017 or so. Because I feel secular activism is kind of what helped me leave Mormonism at the time. I mean, there was a lot of things going on, but that kind of helped me get to that point. But one of the big things that helped me find resources like Recovering from Religion or secular YouTubers was the Ark was being built where I'm from, because Ken Ham's Ark, he was building an Ark in Kentucky, which it's still here. It's still there. But
yeah,
the controversial thing.
There are protests. There are protests coming up. I know the people in chat know when it is. I know what happened. I asked John to be. It's beginning of July because this is what happened. I asked John Gleason to come do an episode, and he's like, "I'm going to be in Kentucky on July 3rd." And I said, "Oh, you're going to the Ark protest?" And he's like, "Yes." So anyway, keep going. That just triggered that. So anyway, keep going.
But no, I think the Ark protest is led by Tri-State FreeThinkers. If anyone is interested in Tri-State FreeThinkers, they're a pretty fun group. I went to some of their game nights, and I tried to go to their ARC meetups, but every time I tried to go, it like got canceled for some reason. So I've never been to one of their ARC things, but it sounds like they're pretty well attended when they don't get canceled. But yeah, what was going on with the ARC around that time is they used property tax funds to help build the ARC, and that's a big no-no, obviously, because it's a church. I think they were trying to skirt around it because technically Ken Ham's Answers in Genesis is technically not a church. It's more like just like a Christian nonprofit. So that's how he was trying to spin it. I don't remember like how it all went down, like if the property tax money ever got refunded or what, but I just remember at the time that's what was going on. So yeah, seeing that go on, I think helped me find, actually the first secular YouTuber I found was Himat Mehta, because he did a podcast about the ARC, and my dad also really liked that too. And so me and my dad would listen to Himat Mehta in the car a lot about the ARC. My dad is secular, so technically he grew up more as a progressive Christian, but I think by the time I was in high school, he kind of became more and more secular. Just my mom is religious for the most part. So yeah, my dad and he helped me kind of find the secular community that way. And I think that was really helpful having that, because a lot of people, and most people probably have like both parents are religious, but my mom and dad were opposite religions for the most part. Because my mom was Mormon, and then my dad grew up Episcopalian, which is like super progressive. So they got divorced when I was in like first grade. So I don't really have any memories of them together. But I think having my parents having different beliefs definitely helped me like explore secularism. Because I think if like both my parents were Mormonism, that might have been a lot harder, like navigating that for sure, because it's helpful when like at least one parent supports you, right? Well, and like, I know like Steve, who's in the chat, just wrote a book a little bit about that, Humanism for the Heart, and he talks about his mixed faith marriage with his wife. I mean, his wife is a progressive Christian, but growing up kids in a humanist environment, and I really like how Steve wrote about that. That's awesome. So
yeah. Like I kind of like, my mom is Catholic and my dad was like, he believed in God, but he was like Methodist kind of, and it was, but like I get the feeling like my dad, like when he was growing up, and then because my grandfather was Muslim and then he came to the United States because he was from Albania, and then he came to the United States and he married my grandma, who was Methodist, but he was a Mormon. So I mean, not a Mormon. He was a Muslim, and so that was like, and then I think my dad said like my grandfather tried to do the Methodist thing, but he was just also kind of jaded with religion in general. So, but my dad, like he had like religious beliefs, but like believed in God, but like the structure of religion didn't suit him. Where my mom, where I had to go, my father he went to church for weddings and funerals. That's the only time he would go to a church. Did not attend, any sort of practice, a Sunday practice where I had to go to church. And I'd be like, why do I have to go? And my dad would be like, listen to your mom. And I'm like, but you don't have to go. So that was but I think like when you said like having like a secular parent, like I would watch like Cosmos and like nature programs with my dad on like PBS, like that was the kind of stuff I would do with my father. And then on Sundays I would go to church. So like when you have that other perspective, I think that's why I didn't go through like religious trauma. I'm just kind of like, oh, this is bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think having a secular parent definitely made it easier to leave Mormonism too. And I think I have a lot less religious trauma than especially other Mormons, because I feel like out of extra religious people, Mormons tend to have like a lot like religious trauma to a higher degree. But I feel like maybe I got a little bit lucky, and yeah, I kind of reasoned like, oh, I don't really believe in this anymore, or like I don't want to believe in this anymore. Because like one of the things that really bothered me about Mormonism was just the very conservative atmosphere, and the fact that like out of Mormons, most of them voted for Trump. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be associated with like a Trump religion. So that was kind of like an easy thing to break. And like some people are the opposite. They're like, oh, you know, I believe in it, but I want to be a light in the Mormon church or something like that. And I don't know, I just never thought about that because like there's other, if you want to think about it like that, I feel like there's other religions like the Community of Christ, which is the progressive branch of Mormonism more so. It's like a whole separate church, and Emma Smith was the one who started it instead of Joseph Smith. So it's Emma's church. And a lot of people, like, they just want to stay in the Brighamite church, which is Joseph Smith's church. And I'm like, why? Like, the things you want exist in the Community of Christ. But I think people just like familiarity a lot. It's something I've noticed. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I grew up in this church, so I want to stay in it. And I guess like a good test to me is like, if you didn't grow up in a certain religion, would you still like want to convert to it? And if not, like maybe that's not the right one for you, you know?
Yeah, it's one of those like there's progressive Catholics because like the thing about being Catholic is that the Catholic Church is terrible. It's a criminal organization and to like the 10th degree. But unlike like Mormonism or like JWs or other like, you know, funny churches, they're not keeping track of you. Like if you go to church or not, no priest is going to come to your house and go, why weren't you at church on Sunday? Like that doesn't happen. Because they're guaranteeing because you start at birth and you're baptized that the guilt is just going to be in there if you don't go. But nobody's keeping track. Versus like, you know, in the Mormon church, like if you don't go to temple, somebody's going to ask why you were at temple that Sunday, you know? And also too, I've noticed like, through like, talking about like FundyTube, that there's a lot of like trad wife stuff that's happening within the Mormon church, you know, which is like you know, you mentioned a lot of them voted for Trump and a lot of those churches and stuff like that, they're kind of leaning into this whole like, you know, trad wife culture. And also there's a lot of influencers like on TikTok and Instagram that are trad wives that are also Mormon. So that's a thing that's happening.
Oh yeah, I guess my secular group here called Lost and Found Club, they actually did a Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I think that's what it's called. They did a screening for one of their events of that show. I wanted to go, but it coincided with a work party I had, so I couldn't go. But it looked like a lot of fun, and they had like a lot of snacks and stuff. So I was like, ooh, yeah.
Like I think because I didn't grow up Mormon, like I had friends that were Mormon. Like my friend Amber, who I've been friends with since high school, she grew up Mormon. And I was like flirting, like I was friends with people that were Mormon, but I was not Mormon. Like, but I was kind of like, I like they would explain their beliefs to me and I was just like, okay, that's cool. But like you're a teenager, you don't care. Like where now I'd be like, you think Jesus Christ came to the United States and that indigenous people have like a red curse? Like, please explain. Like, yeah. But when you're like 15, 16 years old and, you know, it's the 90s, like you're asking those questions.
I was thinking of that. The Book of Mormon is really good, like the musical. I got to see it in Cincinnati.
Oh my God.
I think they just came in Salt Lake. I wanted to see the Salt Lake show.
I saw them with a touring company in Tampa.
Oh, okay. How was it?
It's a wonderful show. It is. Yeah. Like I'm not Mormon, but it was wonderful. Like I think, but also was really funny. There was Mormons outside the musical.
Were they protesting?
No, they were trying to get people to join the church. Like you saw the musical, now find out the truth. And I'm
oh my gosh.
I'm like, have you seen the satire that is happening in this musical about your fucking religion? So,
but someone's interested in joining Mormonism from the Book of Mormon. Yeah. I don't know. That might be someone a little bit gullible.
Parker Maststone to tell you if you want to join a religion. But also it was very like it was like, yes, obviously making fun of the religion, but it was more about like, hey, how do we be like good people, even if you are within a faith. So I thought that was like, it's a very, like, I really enjoyed it. But you should go see it, especially if you were Mormon. You'll probably get more from a lot of the jokes than I would, because I am not Mormon. I've never been Mormon, will never be Mormon, unless something goes very wrong. So
yeah, no, I love seeing it in Cincinnati. I think I want to see it in Salt Lake when it comes back, because I think
yeah.
like the Salt Lake showings, because it's in Salt Lake City, those ones are like really big. So I really want to see it in Salt Lake sometime since I'm here. I think that'd be a lot of fun and different than the Cincinnati one. But yeah.
Right? Oh my goodness. Like with all the Mormon, like former Mormons, or like, or like, because like you have to know what it's about now. Like if you go into this musical, like my friend Charles, who is a big, he is a music teacher and super gay and very much into musicals. He is the stereotype and he owns it. So like, I'm not saying anything bad because he owns it. Anyway, he when the musical first came out, he went to a live show and people walked out. They were offended. And now it's like, it's all over the internet. If you don't know, that's on you. Like, because it's so, but he said, yeah, people were offended and they were just like, yeah, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, you don't like fun. So, and let's go back to what I was wanting to talk about. Okay. So you're a woman, allegedly. Yeah. You are an atheist activist. And your wonderful boyfriend, Eric, is also an activist. So since you're both in this space, like, what have you noticed, like the differences between the way that you approach activism versus like your partner and the different experiences that you're having?
That's a good question. Trying to think how we would approach activism differently. I'm not sure, honestly. That's a really good question. I'm kind of stuck. Do you and Todd at all practice activism differently?
Todd's not an activist. So
okay. I wasn't sure if he was.
Yeah, no, he's just I just drag him to events. And I'm like,
really?
Here, we're gonna go here, and hey, we're gonna, like, I kind of voluntold him to do photography for the excursions. I was like, here, you're gonna like, do you want to do photography? And he was like, yes, but he didn't grow up religious at all, so he doesn't have the same sort of care that I do about, like, being an atheist activist. Like, he doesn't have the same attitude towards it that I do. He's very supportive. And he's wonderful, but also at the same time, he if I stopped, he'd be like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, he'd be like, you're ready to do something else. He is an emotional support animal, and I love him for that. And also, I don't really want him to, because like I'm plugged into this space so much that I just, when I'm with him, I'm like, I want to watch, like, I want to listen to play music and watch like YouTube videos about snakes. Like, that's all I want. Like, I want him to be like, the place I go to when I'm not thinking about all the things.
So, yeah, I guess like the closest I can think of is maybe the type of events is like what I can think of the most. Not really just like, between two individuals, but based on the groups I've been in. I feel like the secular group in Kentucky I was in, it was mostly men, mostly older men. And I feel like a lot of events we did were weekly dinners, which is still a lot of fun. But I guess it was more like casual get-togethers. Like we did movie nights, dinners. But whereas Lost and Found Club in Utah, it's specifically woman and genderqueer led. So it's mostly women and genderqueer people. Sometimes men come, but most of the audience is women and genderqueer people. Like, it's pretty rare for it to be mostly men. I don't know if they've had any event where it was majority men. And most of their events tend to be more like educational. So I guess maybe something I've noticed is maybe more women and genderqueer people might be more keen on like the more educational type events or the more like reclaiming events, if that makes sense. kind of like the excursion type events, maybe. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, because I don't know, like, because I'm not plugged into like certain spaces. Because like to be fair though, like in this atmosphere, like everybody I know is either queer or very queer friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no like separation. Everybody's just though. I do find a lot of I have shifted out of the philosophical debates about I do them on every Tuesday night on the ECA TikTok. I talk to people about philosophy and believing in a God. Like I do that, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
watch any content of that anymore because I'm kind of like I've heard all the arguments in my brain. I'm just tired
Uh-huh.
because I'm like there's nothing new under the sun. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that having those and I because I understand that that content is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do think though, like as women in the space, I do think we're having a different experience than a lot, especially like men. Even because of the way that we're gendered and the way that religion infects the way our gender experiences the world and our own internal experiences are very different than like a cis straight man. It is
Yeah.
just very different.
Something I thought about is I wonder if part of the difference could be that typically in a church setting, men usually are the ones with more leadership roles, whereas women usually can't be a leader, or if they are a leader, it's only like over other women or over kids. So in a secular space, maybe women like have wanted to lead groups like that. So maybe that's why more women will lead educational events and such, whereas men, maybe they kind of want to take a break from being the leader and they like to have the more casual dinners and stuff like that. That's just a
Yeah.
thought I had. I don't know if that's true, but I was just thinking about that, like, oh, that kind of makes sense. So,
Well, and like my kind of feeling too is that like why I got really involved in activism as a queer person as a woman because I was like there's not a lot of us like it definitely it's becoming more of a thing, but there's still a lot of like and listen I love all my straight white guys, I love you, I do. But I also I'm like like I would really like to see some diversity, like a lot. You know, like uh, and like we know people in the space, but I don't think there is as much space as it could be for people that are um existing as people of color or queer people or people that are not Westerners that
mm-hmm.
you have you know uh more space for them I like because like I'm of the opinion that the more that we're working together good thing.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah, definitely. I guess another thought too is I looked it up before this, but prior to COVID, more men left churches than women, which kind of surprises me because I feel like sexism is like a huge thing in most churches. And so you would think more women would leave, but that historically has not been true. It's usually the men who leave. But ever since COVID, that's flipped a little bit, and now more women are leaving. So that maybe that would explain why some groups like Lost and Found Club have been popping up. Because Lost and Found Club is a pretty new secular group. I think they started around 2021 or so. So whereas a lot of other secular groups I've been a part of, like I know Lexington Atheists, they've been around for a very, very long time. And same thing with Utah Atheists, they've been around for a very long time too. But some of the newer secular groups coming up, I feel like are more woman led. And I guess I could go to show that, oh, these women maybe at the time, maybe they were more religious and now they're leaving kind of with like the post-COVID people. So yeah.
yeah, and it is very like it's but I also think too like and me and Glenda have talked about this where women that leave religion and like I went into like a pagan space because it was more
Mm-hmm.
acceptable, like you could have a leadership role within like the pagan communities and that is very appealing to women, but also women move into like this crunchy granola, like alternative medicine space as well. And then that leads to other pipelines of bad ideas, like saying, I'm not going to vax my kids. And it's just like, whoa, hold on. Like, I know, like, listen, I understand religion is all kind of fucked up, but now we're moving over into like, I don't want to get my kids measles shots. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like we have to have a conversation. Where if men, and I think also too, the rhetoric around like men are logical and atheism is logical, that it's kind of also seen, it's getting better and I'm glad it is, but it's still kind of seen as a man space. And it's just like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, I don't think a God exists. That's it. Like this
Mm-hmm.
has nothing about gender. It's just an opinion. Like,
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of secular groups, you can only go so far with talking about like the God debate, right? You were talking about, because you got to start doing other activities and stuff. Like, I think at most secular events I've been to, we've rarely talked about like just like straight up atheism. Like, it's almost usually something else related to it. Like, we'll talk about science or queer rights, or we'll have like some sort of other educational event, like about voting. So yeah, like rarely, like you would think like, oh, it's an atheist group, like we're just going to debate God, but that's not true. Actually, most of them talk about a whole lot of other things because there's
who,
other things
who
that go along with the
in
secular
our
movement.
atheist group is going to debate God? Like everybody's on the same page. We don't think a God
Mm-hmm.
exists. So everybody would be like, I don't think God exists. I don't think God exists either. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's talk about, this latest Netflix documentary I watched about penguins. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But
it was funny though. My coworker, I just happened to mention something about church came up today at work, and I said I was an atheist, and she goes, "What's an atheist?" And I was like, I'm like, how do you it's 2025. How do you not know what an atheist is? And I said, I'm like, I don't believe a God exists. And then she's like, oh, I go, that's it. That's it. Like,
oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah, that
She's
reminds
older.
me. I had a
She's older. I'm giving
coworker.
her like a little bit of slack. She's a little older. So.
Yeah, that reminds me. I had a coworker similar. She asked me if I go to church, and I was telling her about Oasis, which, if you don't know, Oasis is a national secular group. They're kind of like Sunday
Mm-mm.
Assembly. I think they're most
Keep
prominent
talking.
in Utah and
Okay.
Texas.
Keep talking. As per usual, during my podcast, my bladder has decided in the middle of the podcast to want to be empty. So keep talking. But talk about
Okay, you're good.
Oasis.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep talking about Oasis. But yeah, just about Oasis. One of my coworkers asked me if I was a churchgoer, and I didn't really want to say like straight up no. Because I was like, well, I do go to Oasis, and that's not like traditional church. It's not a religious or Christian church, but I do think there's more than to church than just like believing in God and whatnot. So I was trying to explain Oasis to her, like, yeah, it's a secular group, meaning it's non-religious, but we still get together and there's a talk, there's songs, we have a snack. Sometimes on Feast Sunday, we'll go out to eat afterwards. And she's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Well, if you ever change your mind, let me know. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, oh, part of me wanted to be snarky and say, oh, well, if you ever change your mind about the mega church you go to, let me know. And you would, and we'll love to have you at Oasis. So yeah, I guess I feel like it's not as socially acceptable to be secular, unfortunately, which might be part of the reason why women could be less likely to be involved in the secular community. Because I feel like, at least in church, I feel like there's a big teaching like, oh, women have to kind of fit in this box. I'm sure men are taught that too. Like, that's not to say men aren't, but it might be maybe more exaggerated for women. So I feel like being a secular woman, that might be more harder for someone, especially if like they just left their church and it's like, oh, now I'm being like this deviant, but that's not true. I feel like that's also gotten better over time too, because I remember at Kentucky Free Thought Convention a couple years ago, I think it was the 2021 Kentucky Free Thought Convention, but Hema Mehta spoke and he was talking about atheist activism and why he's hopeful about it in the future. And because I think it's slowly changing, but historically, atheism has had a stereotype of like, oh, it's something like creepy people do in the basement, right? Like people think of atheists as like deviant or something bad or
Or
like
neckbeard.
devil worshiper. But
Or
thanks
neckbeard.
to
Like
secular activism,
neckbeard,
I think that's changed a lot. Like I think
deviant.
some people still think that, but maybe not to the level that they used to. Like I feel like secularism is slowly being more accepted. But maybe to a girl who like just left her church and maybe it was like a really conservative church, she might be like, "Oh, I don't want to
What
be
the
seen
fuck
as like a
am
Come
deviant
say
girl."
hi.
here?
So
Todd,
or
say
men.
I
hi.
know that person.
Hello,
Excursion and
Todd.
whatnot. Hello.
He brought me wine. He's a good wine fairy.
Oh, cool. What kind of wine do you have?
It's a Cabernet. So,
Oh, that's cool.
say hi to Steve too, because he's in the chat.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everybody in the chat.
So,
Welcome to my bedroom where my wife hosts these things.
bye, babe. Thank you. You're the best. He's a good emotional support animal. That's all I need him for. I need him for wine and also say hi to our friends. So,
Yeah. Speaking of wine, something off topic, I just bought cooking wine for the first time because like I've always been curious about it because people like say cooking wine sucks. Like it's like, oh, it's just
you wanna
salty
drink
wine,
it?
which is true. I tried it and it's just salty wine. But like part of
Yeah,
me is wondering why they sell it. Like, do they sell it maybe for people
because
who aren't like old enough to
you
buy
need.
wine
Okay,
and they want to cook?
well, this is the reason why you use the salt has a lower burn temperature, so you're
Uh-huh.
actually using it for flavoring. It's not actually meant to be drunk because it's
Hmm.
salty wine, and wine is tends not to be salty
Yeah.
because you're using it as a flavor content.
Hmm.
But it is and the alcohol level is so low in it that you would have to drink like a good amount to get like kind of saucy. But the
Yeah.
thing is, because it's salty, like, nobody's like, yay,
Yeah.
like
Well, actually, I don't think the alcohol content's that low because the one I
is
bought,
it?
one
What is
is
it? I don't.
10% ABV and the other is 12%
Woo!
ABV. So I don't think it's that low, but it is very salty.
Fine.
So,
I don't know. I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, like again, I've been wrong about many things in my life, so I'm not surprised if I'm wrong. So, okay, cooking wine. This is why we have Google, everybody. Cooking wine, alcohol content.
I just got like
uh,
Kroger brand, which Kroger
oh,
is called
okay.
different things depending on where you are. But
So 60 higher alcohol content than table wines. What the fuck? 16 to
mm,
17% APV. Okay, I was wrong. All right. I do know it's
yeah.
salt because of the flavor for flavoring, but I didn't realize it was going to be like, like it's gonna kind of fuck you up. So there you go. Learn something new today, everybody. Here you are. Welcome to FreeThinkers Fireside, where we learn new things.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool fun fact. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I just had a thought too while I was talking about how women might less likely be involved in secular
Yeah.
groups because secularism has like a bad reputation, or at least it did historically. Maybe that's slowly getting better. But something I just thought about is maybe one of the reasons why they didn't leave church to begin with is maybe because they've been more complicit than men a little bit. Like they're like, oh, well, this is, how it is. And maybe men are more likely to break free from that. I don't know. That's just a thought, but obviously it depends on the person because there's men who are more complicit. There's women who are more likely to leave. So like you can't really put everyone in a box, but just like overgeneralizing things, I feel like I could see men more likely like wanting to leave. But I will say something I would love to see is someone from like the Mormon church that I grew up in specifically, like be involved in the secular space because a lot of them like don't have left like Mormonism, but a lot of them like they don't really show up to any secular events or they don't really talk about it beyond that. Like it's kind of like being a nun, like an NONE, where you're just kind of
Yeah.
nothing. And I feel like we have a big rise in that, but not a whole lot of interest in secular groups. And that's not like a woman or men thing. That's like everyone. So, and I don't really
I
know
think
why that is. I guess maybe people think like, oh, I'm an atheist, so like I don't believe in anything anymore. But I guess that's kind of where humanism comes into play because humanism is the answer. Well, if I'm an atheist and this is what I'm not, a humanist is what I am. And I guess I wish people
right.
were
Well,
more involved in that. But
I have like I like in I have religious people like like I'll say I'm a humanist, and they go, "What is that?"
mm-hmm.
I go, "Do you care about other human beings and want them to thrive and do well?" And they go, yes. I go, that's a humanist. I go, you're just doing it within the religious context. I'm doing it through the atheist context. But if you're doing this idea that you care about people's well-being, you want them to thrive, that's a humanist attitude. It's just the way we're perceiving it is a little different. And then he was like, oh, and I go, yeah.
Yeah,
but I
that's
think
true. Humanism.
No,
I was just gonna say, humanism actually started out as a Christian movement during the Renaissance. So I guess historically it used to be part of Christianity, but honestly, that was so long ago. So I'm kind of surprised people don't realize that. But a fun fact for anyone who doesn't know, something I learned in AP European
yes,
history
John,
many,
you're
many years
such
ago.
a jerk. Such a jerk, John.
Is that
John helps out with homeless people and is a wonderful human being, so he is not a jerk. You should watch this episode.
Okay, yeah. Wait, how long ago was this?
Like maybe was it like 2 months ago, man?
Okay,
I think it was like 2
I'll
months
look on
ago.
your
It was 2
channel.
months ago.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation about homeless and being a homeless activist and stuff like that. He good people. He also volunteers for the HCA. Anyway, go back to what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah, speaking of that,
and I had to call him out.
Yeah, I will say, speaking of that, I don't know if he still does or not, but I think Phil Session, like the Recovering from Religion board member, I don't think he's on the board anymore, but when he was a board, or maybe before he was a board member, I don't remember. I just remember I read in his like bio that he used to volunteer with the ACA and like specifically homeless populations. So I don't know if that's something up in line with what Phil did, but what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about humanism. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, something interesting is I learned in an AP European history class many years ago when I was in high school that humanism, it started out as a Christian movement during the Renaissance as a way to put an emphasis on human achievement instead of God. So like if say this artist did this painting, instead of thanking God for his talent, you would directly thank him for his talent, the person who did it. And I feel like humanism has kind of morphed a little bit from there. So like it still has that origins of celebrating human achievement, because I feel like that's like what human light is a little bit. It kind of goes back to the origins of humanism, but nowadays humanism has evolved into like being good without God, like the American Humanist Association logo or something like that. So yeah, it's really interesting reading about the history of humanism. It's kind of cool to see like how it progressed from like viewing human achievement into kind of like an alternative to Christianity today. And also kind of cool because it started out as a Christian movement and it slowly progressed more as like a secular one. But I feel like a lot of things are like that though, because like historically a lot of Christian holidays used to be pagan. So a lot of things slowly move throughout time. And like even political things, like a lot of things that nowadays you think are more left-wing or liberal issues actually used to be more conservative. Like during the Industrial Revolution, environmentalism was actually more of a very Republican, or not Republican, more historically conservative thing. This was before Republicans existed, and nowadays we think of like conserving the environment as more of a liberal
like
thing.
Conserve is in there, like take care of the environment, conserve it, because like for example, like when the logging industry started, like like if you go like a trip to the Smoky Mountains, they kind of like fucked up the ecosystem at the time, and then they realized like, oh, we're kind of killing our product. Like they won't. So and then they had to kind of rebuild the environment of replanting all those trees, so you get those new generations over and over and over again, and that's conserving, because it is still. Yeah, you can have a business, but also take care of the environment at the same time. So,
but yeah, it's really interesting how certain issues will flip. And like, even I think abortion used to be kind of similar. It used to be more like just a Catholic thing. Like I don't know what year it switched, but it used to be a thing just Catholics cared about. And then around the time when Jerry Falwell kind of got involved with the moral majority, that's when it became like a Republican thing. But before then, it was just like religious people, and they thought like that. And most Republicans didn't really care about, being anti-choice or whatever. But ever since Jerry Falwell, he kind of turned that religious issue into a political issue. And a lot of things have kind of flipped over time like that, or just like turned into different issues. So, and it kind of makes you wonder, like 100 years from now, what are we doing now that will be like completely different? So,
well, like I think that like it tends to be the same thing over and over again. History tends to we are not like yes, we live. I think that more information that we have access to helps a lot, but it also hinders. That's the thing about like I would say the internet is a double-edged sword. You have access to all the information, but you also have access to all the information, which includes bad information. There, you know, and if you're not trained to critically think about things and be like, does this correlate with reality? Like an example for like, I thought the cooking wine had a lower alcohol content. And then you were like, no, it's actually pretty high. And then I was like, oh, that is true. I had a fake fact that I thought was true in my brain until somebody prompted me to go, what's the truth? And then you look at it and it's like, oh, that's cooking wine. Now let's talk about like, should women have rights? You know, like abortion rights, like that's another like and how people are misinformed about that. So if they're misinformed about cooking wine, can they also be misinformed about like, hey, what is abortion actually is and why do people get it? Like what is that?
Yeah, I feel like that might get worse too, especially with what's going on with like media censorships too, because I think like Donald Trump has been cutting funding from like things like PBS and I think AP News.
NPR.
I have to look it up. But he lost, a lot of things.
I got a thing from NPR asking for donations because Trump cut off funding for NPR, which boggles my mind because it's been like I know people like back in the 1970s were listening to NPR, which is, you know, I listen to NPR like because I'm better than you. That's what I always say. Like, listen to NPR because I'm better than you. Thank you, Kelly. So, but like that's how I get my news. I get my news from like NPR, and then I get it from like secular YouTubers because they're progressive and they actually report facts. So. And I verify through Ground News, you know, which is a great resource. I like if you've seen anybody advertising for Ground News, I fish a lot for a lot of articles for the nonprofits on Ground News. It is a really, even if you don't pay for the subscription, like as a tool source, it's great. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's really I pay for the subscription. Just because of the nuance and the way to like dissect news as a skeptical person and making sure I actually know what's going on. The blind spots feature is great. I'm not a sponsor. If they want to be a sponsor, I will definitely plug them, but I'm not a sponsor.
Yeah, I'm just cool. I'll have to look them up sometime.
Yeah. It's an app. You can download it. It's great. Like again, not a sponsor, but like NPR and other. We're talking about like how do you get your information? So like you know things we're talking about like you know and even within the secular community, what is the experience of like a secular woman versus like a secular man, and how do we navigate these spaces? Like there's people that post vlogs about this, you know, but it's still like a very niche thing. You know, we are in a very niche demographic. Like we're not doing movie reviews. I'm talking to people that are atheist activists. You know, that's my niche. Like,
yeah. I was gonna say, I think over time it's gotten a lot better too, because I can think of, I guess historically, like maybe, because like historically, when I think of like older atheism, I think of the Four Horsemen, which are all cis men, I think. And like same thing, even with like new atheism, like those are all cis men. But nowadays, I feel like it's gotten a little bit better over time, and I feel like it might trend that way a little bit, because I know, like I can think of quite a few prominent secular women. Like I know Gail Jordan with Recovering from Religion. I know, I think some in Camp Quest, they have a couple of female leaders. And then I'm trying to think who else are Arden Hart. Arden Hart actually did a really good presentation at American Atheists about transphobia in the secular movement, and that was really great. I wish I could have seen it in person, but yeah, it was also a really good time because I know Freedom from Religion Foundation has had some issues with that lately.
But they also
apparently
like
some
have
other
corrected
organizations
it,
too.
so it's complicated. Like the whole thing, I tend to be like the person, I think I don't know if I think you're kind of in the same space where if there's a controversy within our circles, I wait to see what happens. I'm like, okay, like the Freedom from Religion Foundation actually responded appropriately. It just took a little bit of time because they had to do an internal investigation. That takes a little bit of time before they start, removing board members and, posting things publicly. That's what's supposed to happen. But at the end of the day, are you doing the right thing? That's all I care about.
Well, I think they left on their own, so yeah.
So also too, yeah. Also like backlash. So yeah, like you can be subjected to backlash, but I tend to want to be more nuanced about things. Because I know what I've been reactionary, and emotional. Shocking. I know. And you have to, and that's okay. So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, I guess Glinda Jordan. I feel like Glinda has been doing more with RFRX a little bit, and Glinda does. Yeah, I know Glinda helped out with the big fundraiser they have. So yeah, when I think of prominent secular women, I can think of quite a few people, and I guess historically, like most atheist YouTubers haven't been. I guess Eve Was Framed. That's another one.
But Glenda doesn't have her own channel. She just shows up, shows up on people's podcasts, and
really?
yeah, she doesn't have her.
Yeah,
she does not have her own channel.
Have you interviewed Glinda at all?
No, I'm gonna get her on. I just have to bug her.
That'd be awesome.
I'll just bug her. I'll just DM her. I'll be like, Linda, please come do my show. I bought your artwork. Come do my show. We're friends. Okay. I also have to get Gail on. Even though I left the Western division of RFR, I still love my people. So you're all my buddies and I love you to pieces. And I will promote recovering from religion until I'm blue in the face. So, it's fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think it's totally normal to grow because the organizations that I volunteered with in high school are totally different than the ones I do now. And I still love them, but it's kind of interesting thinking about it because it's oh wow, it feels like so long ago. But because when I was in high school, I used to volunteer with March for Our Lives, which is a great organization, but I guess just over time, after I graduated school, it was kind of hard to volunteer with them. So I still support them obviously, and I still love what they're doing. And and I think they help with lobbying a little bit too to try to get more gun restrictions on the ballot. Because some places it's easier to get a gun than it's ridiculous. It's easier to get a gun than really other stuff. Anyone can just walk in and buy one.
It's easier to get a gun than abortion rights.
So yeah, even though I don't volunteer with,
you're pro-life, but also it's really easy to get a gun, and it's just this doesn't correlate.
But yeah, no, I think that's pretty normal to kind of have different organizations you volunteer with over time because I've done that too. I said, I used to volunteer with March for Our Lives, and I still love them, but it's just kind of hard to fit them into my schedule when you're out of school because most of their volunteering is for students. So but having volunteered with different groups that kind of helps know what's around. So and you can always recommend certain organizations I used to volunteer with them or something like that. So yeah,
RFR is always looking for I'm going to be helping out Sherry with the Australian extension of RFR. I haven't left.
Are you going to Australia?
No, I'm volunteering. I'm helping Sherry.
Okay, that's so cool though.
I'm helping Sherry. I'm not moving to Australia, but she me, she's like, hey, do you want to be involved doing the growth, advocacy, and fundraising aspects? And I said, yes. We had our first meeting last month. I was sick. So I'm going to be at the next meeting. And because one thing I'm very good at is networking, that find your niche, guys. Like, find the thing that you're good at. Like, if you could, like we always say, like in this space, you don't have to be like a content creator. You don't have to be face forward. And like, if you like whatever you're doing, if you find an organization, they're like, hey, I can offer you this, offer it. Because you have a talent that, or a skill or training that could benefit to a lot of people in this space. So you should do those things. So, hi, AJ. I love AJ. AJ has her own channel, Ways of Human. We also volunteer together at the ACA. Wonderful human being. AJ, you should do an R4X talk. I'll get you connected with Cara. So, but like wonderful people in this space. But like, I think everybody has their own perspective and stuff that they can contribute. And I, like you and I are kind of in this space, like, because there's a lot of people with different skills within the and the activist community that don't do content. They're behind the scenes, you know, and they're just as important. Like if you were a part of the online community for and just people that were moderating the chats and offering resources, that's one thing you do, and nobody knows who you are. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can use nicknames. Yeah, that's true. Especially volunteering online, like it's pretty easy to, because nowadays you can volunteer like anywhere you want, and you can do it online, like on your own time. I guess that's something that I really liked about recovering from religion when I found them, is it was very like flexible around my work schedule. And same thing with like ACA. I'm sure like it's pretty flexible because it's online, right? So
we just be like, I like, can I do the nonprofits, and I'll promote stuff, and I will try to do social media stuff. Like, that's
yeah,
what I do.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, I do think, like, you know, and I'm glad that you actually want to talk about this topic, because it's something that I'm always kind of harping about. It's just like, you know, AJ is an activist and a woman. I get a little, I want to see more people that look like me, also like people that have my gender but don't look like me. So because I love my straight white men, I do, but also at the same time I'm like like I'm not having your experience, man. I'm just not. Like, where if you're queer or you're a woman, I tend to get that. I get that. You know, like being in spaces, you know. Yeah, so AJ did get their American citizenship. So awesome. I don't know why you decided now to do it, but good for you. I love you for it. We're gonna hang out at back rooms for sure. So but like, that's what I want. I want more like different voices, because their experiences, especially how if they left religion, how that was different for them. Like, if you listen to Durante talk about being a Black spiritual leader, and then, you know, moving into an atheist space, and still an educator and still a very good communicator, talking about his experience, like that type of stuff. I'm like, that is actually really, really, you know, very important stuff that has to talk about like his particular experience as a Black man, as a preacher that moved into a secular activist space. You know, like, I think it's really important. Which reminds me, I have to bug him to be on my show. So,
yeah, definitely. It kind of reminds me of Mandisa Thomas's story too, with Black non-believers. Yeah. And then there's also another one. I forgot her name off the top of my head, but she wrote a book called Humanism in the Hood, and she spoke at Kentucky Free Thought Convention. I wish I remember her name, but she's a really other good Black secular activist too. So, yeah, I think I haven't read it yet, but it focuses on humanism in the hood.
Was written by hold on. Hold on. No, I don't want. Okay, the book is there. That's nice. Sik- oh my God, I'm going to pronounce her name. Sikivu, Sikivu Hutchinson. So
Yeah, I know her last name was Hutchinson. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce her first name either.
I'm not gonna say that correctly. I'm just not because I pronounce things phonetically, and I'm sure
Yeah,
that is not the
really,
way she
really good
pronounces.
book.
Maybe it is the way she pronounces her name, but I have a good feeling I'm saying it wrong. So, but it's free online. So I'll put it in the chat. The book is free online. So go do that. So, like, I literally pulled it up, and the whole book came. So I was like, okay.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
feel like kind of like women can have a unique experience compared to men. I feel like also people who are black leaving religion have a different experience than white people too, because I feel like a black church is totally different than like a typical mega church because I feel like they emphasize a lot more community. I mean, I've never been to one, but just like from stereotypes and stuff, like I feel like the community in one is maybe a lot stronger, and I feel like
yeah.
that. And also during the time that like when slavery was lifted, they kind of used religion like as a way to bring community like after slavery. And like even during slavery, like religion was kind of a way to like relieve the pains of slavery during the time. And so if you were secular and a slave, like I feel like there was no way around that really because they used prayer as like a comforting thing to do, and there really wasn't anything to do if you were a secular person at that time. So I feel like black people could have unique challenges that white people just don't. And I feel like that's why church and religion is so much more ingrained in black culture. And I watched
Yeah.
a really good documentary. It's like a short documentary. It's called, I forget what it's called, but well, I don't even remember the guy's podcast, but I'll probably think of it later.
Right. And then you'll
But he did
DM
a really
me
good
and then you'll
one
be like,
about
hey.
yeah, he did a really good
I wake up at
podcast
like 2 in
on
the morning, you'll be like, oh my God.
he did a really good mini like podcast about bean pie, and it's specifically Black Muslim America. So Black Muslims Americans made something called bean pie, and it's just kind of like a fellowship type food, and it's so rooted in religion and fellowship and community. And I feel like for black people, like religion is so much more intertwined in community than a white person. That's not to say like it's not for white people, but it's just on a higher level for black people and
So
so
your audio it goes from high to low. So I don't know. Yeah, because you were low, then you were high again, and now you're back on the low. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
it's
resetting my earbuds.
no, it's like I don't know, like how are you using your earbuds as your microphone, or do you have a microphone on your computer?
No, I think I'm using them as my microphone. I think they're like Bluetooth earbuds.
Okay, it might be that. I don't know. Like, cause I have to set like my microphone to my microphone and then my earpods to my earpods. Cause I noticed that a couple episodes that I did of my own show, I actually forgot to do that. And then I was like, the audio is very different. So, but I don't know if you have like, I have a mic setup. So, cause I'm a professional, everybody. Professional. Like,
I might just try disconnecting the earbuds.
okay, and then now I completely lost her. I can't hear you at all. You're my okay. We'll just go back to it. It's fine. We'll deal with like a little bit of a lower volume rather than like not being able to hear you. So it's fine. We'll go back to where it was. It was fine. We'll just go back. Let's go back to the earbuds. I had to buy new work earbuds, everybody, because my earbuds at work died. And I've had these Raycons. These are my new Raycons that I bought. I'm not a sponsor. Don't really care. It was just a good price. I had a really nice pair of like Raycons that I used at work, and then today they were just like, "Yeah, fuck you, Helen, we're not going to work anymore." So I'm going to have to buy new Raycons. They're probably going to be purple. So probably something. Is that better? I cannot hear you. Okay, we're gonna wait. So, should I? Okay. Do I have anything in the show? Okay, so the Apostate Sisters are going to be here next Thursday, which I'm very super excited about. To have my internet wife here, so that's going to be a good time. So I'll just tell people who'll be on the show going forward. I just have to pull up my calendar, so I can know who's going to be on the show. Why Emily figures out the thing. So yeah, the Apostate Sisters are next week. So I mean, hold on. We're in June. Cool. So Apostate Sisters next week. Following week. Why are you doing this, internet? Hold on. Month. Okay. So for the month of June. So next week, Apostate Sisters. Gonna be a great show. Leslie Rosenblood was somebody that reached out to me, and it's going to be here on the 5th. A.T. Coffee, who I met at an RFR excursion, who is a former pastor for like 40 years and then left religion. He's going to be here on the 12th. Coleman Watts is going to be here on Juneteenth. And then Mikey Famine from Deep Friendship Stories with Neil will be here on the 26th. So that's what I have coming up. Oh, and Graham Martin from the Cross Examiner is going to be here on June 9th. So, and I'm probably going to have Dr. Ben on soon on a Saturday, because we were just talking about like how he now has Saturdays free. So Dr. Ben's going to be on, and probably within the next couple of weeks. So that'll be happen. That's coming up too. So that's, I am booking into July. So if you want to be on the show or know someone that should be on the show, if you've been on before, come on again. I don't care. Just do the email thing here. Oh my God, we lost her. She'll be back. So yeah, I highly. Oh, she's on her phone. Cool. Oh no, she's on her phone. Okay, girl, you get it. You can you hear me? You can hear me, but I can't hear you. Okay, great. That is gonna be a great show, everybody. I love doing lives. If you were here, okay, so if you were here last week, and I gotta take down the video because when Mary was on, like, it was a shit show. Like, we tried, like, we were doing okay. I had some lag, and then it kind of died. So so Mary, who wrote Jezebel's Justice, Mary Byler, she is, I've done podcasts with her on Skeptic Haven. She is a wonderful human being. Buy her book. I saw the Center of Money. But also as well, like we're going to do a re-episode probably sometime this summer. So look forward to that. That's going to happen because my internet decided it didn't like me. And I'm actually, like, she sent it to me like a couple of days that she was before she came on. I was like, I'll read the book. And did I get a chance to read the book? No. So I'll read it by then so we can actually have a discussion about it. So that'll be a thing. Emily, how are you doing? Go down into the if you go down into where it says mute, okay, if you go and then you click on the button, you can select your microphone. So you may have to go back to your earbuds. This is like a little arrow. Maybe not. Or if you want to click out and rejoin, that might fix it. So do that. Okay, so we'll do that. We're gonna try that. So we're professionals here at FreeThinkers Fireside. Hey everybody. So yeah, I'm gonna have Ben on. I'm probably I'm gonna have Durante on. I keep telling him that he needs to come on. I think I'm gonna have. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have John Gleason on, July 3rd. Because thing is though, like the last time I had him on, he was at Free Flow. And he was in a hotel room. It was only like an hour. So I was like, well, I want to have him, on for a little bit longer because me and John are friends and he's a wonderful human being and I want to have a longer talk. And he's like, well, I can be on the 3rd. And I was like, dude, I was like, and he's going to be at the Ark Encounter protest, which I wish I was going to. Because me and Joe from the Kentucky Atheists were joking around that me and Nancy, who from my apostate sister, is my internet wife, and we were like, we can make out at the Ark Encounter, which would be really fun. But I'm not going to be there because her and Patty are going to be there. Her sister Patty's also a wonderful human being. So that's not going to happen. So I'm probably but like John's going to be there at the Ark Encounter. I might have to go next year. I kind of want to. Okay, here's Emily. Okay, let's see if this works because I'm babbling.
Okay.
Oh, yeah! Yay!
Yay!
Okay, cool.
I just had to leave. But yeah,
I was just babbling about stuff I had coming up. I was just like, hey, can you just adjust like the volume? And they were like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
Yeah, I don't know. But
so,
cool.
like,
are you having Dr. Ben come on? I just saw in the comments.
Yeah, we were just DMing while we were talking because he wants me to be on his show and his new show. And I was like, you need to be on my show. And he's like, well, I can do it Saturday. So we're going to plan on Saturday because me and Ben are, we're buds. I'm actually planning to go for the ACA back cruise. I'm probably gonna me and Cara are gonna drive to Dr. Ben's house and spend a few days at his house, and then drive to Austin to do back cruise. Yeah, so
ACA had a cruise. Yeah, that reminds me.
Oh yeah, it's I don't know anything about Austin. I know there's a river and there's a bunch of bats under a bridge, and then it's millions of them. And people that live in Austin actually know what river we're going to be on and all that type of stuff. There's actual cruises to go out and watch the bats like fly out, which is really, really cool. So I was like, yes. And I get to hang around with all my ACA friends. So that will be fun. I think it's the last weekend in August. So I'm going to go to Texas in August. What is wrong with me?
That's awesome.
Lady Bird, like, thank you. As a Texan, thank you, AJ.
Something I miss about being in school is I miss like being able to go to more events like this, because when I was in school, I had like part-time jobs, like I worked at Starbucks, and something nice about those jobs is you have unlimited unpaid time off.
Right.
You can request time off, and as long as it gets approved, you're good. I mean, you don't get paid, but it is what it is. But like when you get a full-time job, you have limited paid time off, and you don't really get unpaid time off anymore. So now it's like I just have 2 weeks of vacation time a year, so like I can't go to nearly as many events as I used to, and I'm so sad. That's the biggest thing I miss about part-time work is like the vacation time. Not like vacation time, but the flexible schedule. Like now, like my schedule is like 8 to 5, and like I get 2 weeks time off, and that's it. It's like I miss working part-time.
I get 2 weeks of vacation time, and then I get 1 week of like sick days. But the thing is, though, it's like, well, like, how am I going to ration? Like, I can do like one atheist event a year. Like last year, I did excursion. This year, I'm doing back cruise. Next year, American Atheist Conference, maybe the Ark Encounter, the Ark Encounter protest. Like, do that. I have to wrap, but I also want, because I told Sherry if she flies to Florida, we can do free flow together. And then we could probably be speakers.
Oh,
yeah. See, big brain. So because Orlando's only like 2.5 hours for me, I'm like, if you come stay at my house, we can just drive spend a few days with me, and then we can drive to Orlando and do an event, and then her boyfriend Andrew could come stay at my house, and then it can be like a big atheist, like fuck it all. It'd be great. Like, so. Like, Cara's gonna come visit me soon. We were just saying, like, you need to come stay with me, so they're gonna come down because we're besties. Did I show you what Cara got me for my birthday?
No, so what did they get you?
Okay. So Cara, we have like a wine hangout every few weeks where we go on Discord and we drink or whatever. And I mentioned in past, like my birthday was April 9th. The 11th, we were doing one of these nights, and I mentioned in passing was my birthday. So, Tuesday of the next week rolls around, and I had a crappy day at work, and I come home and I have extra packages from Amazon, and I'm like, what did I order? That was my brain. So they sent me a little ghosty, which I am
that's adorable. Is it homemade?
Yeah. I don't know. It was
so just cute either way.
Yeah, and it says, I hope we're friends until we die. Then I hope we stay ghost friends. So we can scare the shit out of people. And they also got me a candle that smells like honeysuckle that says, I hope your enemies choke on a bag of dicks. And I was just like, I'm like, I love you, Cara. Like, it was just like one of those wonderful surprises. Cara's been on my show. They're probably going to be on again. So go watch that episode.
Yeah.
It's one of my earlier ones. I've hit the point right now that I'm just a chaos goblin, and if you're going to be on my show, like, just do not expect order. Like, this is not like a Seth Andrews, so we're going to have a structured interview. we're just going to hang out.
A lot easier, I think, because honestly, I don't think I'm that good with podcasts usually, and that's why I was nervous before. But since it's like so laid back, I was like, okay, I can do this.
It's fine. I am not like, I do like with like Seth and other atheist YouTubers, like where it's more of like a structured conversation. I think like that's great. It's my vibe. I'm more of a chaos goblin where I want to have a conversation and I try to stay on topic.
Yeah.
So
I think it's easier, like from my perspective, like being on it, I like it when people are more relaxed. Like it kind of like this is kind of different, but something that it reminds me of is how people are like, oh, when like medical professionals or something, it's unprofessional if they have tattoos. But I'm like, I think it's more comforting if they have tattoos. Like I know they're chill or something like that.
Right.
I would prefer to go to a medical professional with tattoos or whatever. So like I like chill.
That was that's the thing. Like I'm like, what if, because I'm a very tattooed person. I got my new tattoo of my xenomorph in the polysexual colors. I don't know if you can see her. So yeah, it's there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll actually send you a photo in Messenger. But you have no idea based on my tattoos, other than I'm a little bit of a weirdo. But like what my education is, what my career is, like what do I do? Like you don't know. So like I kind of like, well, like I'm kind of like, you have a tattoo. That tells me, unless you have like, an iron cross or like a swastika on your neck, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like, cool. You like body art. I like body art too.
Yeah. For sure. That's true. Yeah. Well, it does remind me that at the excursion, I know there were a couple people who had like old religious tattoos from when they were religious. So some people, they might still have it, but I don't know. Maybe they'll get it removed, or maybe
do a cover up. Just do a cover up, or you invert it some way, to make it like like you have your cross, but you put like a apostate under it or something like that. Like you make it like your own. That's what you have to do. Like it's like, okay, so embarrassing tattoo story. So when I was 19, I got a Winnie the Pooh holding a honey pot above his head on my butt when I was 19. Okay. Then I got a full cover up. But the thing is, though, is that I have a lower back tattoo, and I put my kids' names in the lower back tattoo. Now, who are the only people that are going to see that lower back tattoo? Let's think about this, people. My kids' names are there. So now I'm thinking, like, I have to get another cover up, which I probably will do. Because if you take it, yeah, thank you, AG. Oh no, oh no, thank you. So, like, that's the thing about tattoos. It's like, tattoos are like marriage. Make sure that it's something you really, really want, because getting rid of it or covering up, it's going to be a lot of time, a lot of money, it's going to be pain. Like, so you gotta be like, you're like, I'm going to commit. So
Yeah, that reminds me. I don't know if he ended up doing it, but I know last year, or maybe it was like a year before. I don't remember which version, but Steve got a humanist tattoo, and I think he wanted to like get other people to do it too. And I guess I was too chicken to get a tattoo, but now like I kind of wish I did. He might have done it after because I don't. Maybe he couldn't find a tattoo artist. I don't know if he's still watching, but yeah. Either way, that sounds fun, and maybe next version, maybe I
the
will.
thing is, though, is like the one where like I did the cover up with my kids' names, which at the time seemed like a very reasonable thing to do. And it's a dragonfly scenes, and that's like, my spirit animal, blah 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 blah. Okay. Because I have I have a dragonfly on this arm, which also has my Aries symbol from when I was pagan, but also I kind of dig it. So whatever. I don't care. Like, whatever. I am an Aries. Take that, what you will. Am I a ram? Probably. I'm just going to bang my head against shit and see what happens. That's going to be my thing. Anyway, at the time seemed like a good idea, but the thing is that also it's on my lower back, and and a part of the tattoo is on my spine. It was an experience that I'm not sure I want to have again. So again, do I want to cover it up? Probably should. Also at the same time, pain, because I've been getting tattoos for a long time, and I got this one done like a month ago. Like, I was like, I forgot how much these hurt, because the last one I got was this one, and like this was, oh Jesus, spiritual experience. Let me tell you. Oh my God. Because usually when people do this tattoo, if they do an elbow tattoo, they don't actually do the bone of the tattoo. So this is how you know. Okay. Like this, there's certain body parts where you can get a tattoo. Like Emily, if you decide to get a tattoo, have you ever gotten a tattoo?
No, I haven't gotten one.
Okay.
Maybe someday.
Okay.
I've gotten
okay. If you decide to get one, there are certain parts that are less painful than others. Like, okay, like this wasn't so bad. When we started getting down here, a little more painful. Where up here towards my clavicle, like this is okay. This here, painful. This down here, painful. This in between, not so bad.
Yeah,
it depends where you get one.
At least though, like, I mean, it's somewhat, but at least it's temporary because like after the pain, you have the tattoo, kind of thing. So like, yeah, it might hurt, but at least like it's done with. Like after that, like, I mean, unless you get it covered up, I guess, then you do it again. But like, if you just stick with that same tattoo, like the pain was worth it. I think. I hope anyway.
Well, like that's why I have to tell myself, because like I have to get like more color in my child's like daffodil, because these are all like birthday months. Like the poinsettias for my father, the marigolds are for my son and my husband. So it's like birthday month tattoos of people that are like important to me. Like the lily, I just love lilies, but like the daisy up here is for myself and my mom, because we're both April. So like there's like significance. Like I want to get a lilac because I'm from New Hampshire, but I also want to get an orange blossom because I live in Florida. Like stuff, like, things that, have a theme. I have a theme. But I also have to remind myself, like when I'm getting a 10, I'm like when I was getting this 10, I was like, it's totally going to be worth it. I'm just going to, because there's so many little lines in a xenomorph, like so many little lines. I was just like, but at the end, am I happy I got it? So that's the whole point. Like when you get a tattoo, that you remind yourself it's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if I got a tattoo, I would definitely want it related to secularism somehow, because I feel like that's what I'm most passionate about. But it's just, I don't know what I want to get into. I don't know where I want to get it. So it's like, I don't know. I've seen a few cool ones. Like I know Steve has the happy human tattoo. And
Yeah,
then I know
I
one
love that
person
piece.
who has, in my secular group in Kentucky, he had the Drake, which is more like a science thing, but it's the probability of life in other universes. And it's a pretty cool tattoo. I was like, that's dope. And like, I'm trying to think, I feel like I've seen other cool ones too, but yeah, something like that I think would be cool. But it's like, I don't know where I would want it because I feel like even if I like it, what if I want it somewhere else, right?
Well,
Yeah.
like, I'm not like my husband, like Todd has both of his tattoos in like his upper arm, so if he can, I don't really care. I'm more
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna like fine, but he wanted ones where he can kind of cover them up.
Yeah.
I think now he would probably like he wants to get like some more work done. Um, so I kind of like want I think, but it's kind of an idea like what kind of job you want. Which I like again, like I understand. I understand in like conservative cultures and stuff like that. Like like if you like if you're a woman and you have tattoos, you're the bad girl. Yes, I embrace that. Thank you. but also as well, doesn't also you can have tattoos and not be like polyamorous or whatever. Like you can be like monogamous. Like it
Mm-hmm.
literally says nothing about your behavior other than like I want art on my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of silly that people don't want professionals to have tattoos in a lot of industries because, like I said, like about the medical professionals, like if someone has tattoos and I'm seeing them like at their work, like for like I'm seeing a doctor at their work or I'm going to, whatever, I would feel way more comfortable if they
Like
have tattoos. Like I think they're like chill.
I
So
love you, AJ. Like
yeah, let's get more tattoos.
yeah, more tattoos. Like, but like to be fair though, when you have kids, you get an epidural. Like you get this numbing that, like, if you ever have children, I don't know if you and your kid plan to have like little munchkins. Okay. If you don't, that's okay too. But like, at least when you have children, you get an epidural. You can be like, I don't want to be in pain, and it is the most wonderful thing ever. If you get a tattoo, you just have to sit there and deal with it. Like you don't get an epidural. You're just like, I'm gonna draw patterns into your skin with needles. You better like it. So the
Yeah.
masochist in me is just like, yeah, give it to me, baby.
That's for sure. Yeah, the only thing I just have my upper ears done. I would like to get more done, but I guess I've heard like with earbuds, it doesn't work as well very good. So I've been hesitant about that. So yeah, I don't know. And then it takes forever to heal. Like especially if you don't get like the lobes done, it takes like a year to heal and it's just a hassle. So but the quicker you do it, the faster it's gonna heal. So yeah, I don't know what I'll do next. I definitely like doing like piercings or tattoos if I ever get one with like a memory of some sort. Like I did my first
Mine are
piercing with
mine are all like significant things.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
that's
I like actually getting it like out of something because I guess with like a piercing, it's not as memorable as a tattoo because like it's not like a design you right. It's just like a hole
I've
in there.
had
But
I've
yeah,
had
my
a
first
tongue
one I
piercing.
did.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll tell you my story in a minute.
Oh
Keep
no,
going.
no, you're good. You're good.
No,
No, I
I'm
was
fine.
just saying like my
I've
first
had
piercing
wine.
I did at I did at some event with what did I do? I don't know. I think it was just like some event that I did with like a bunch of my friends. So like I always remember it that way. And then my second one I did with my secular group where we got piercings together. And so yeah, and like every time it's like, oh, I remember this one event. So I don't want to just get one like just myself because I feel like that's kind of boring. But maybe if like another secular event, or maybe I'll host one where we all get piercings, and then it could be a fun memory. But what were you gonna say about piercings?
I was gonna say like the one like the xenomorph that I got was originally going to be a cat and the bisexual colors, but recent events has me feeling more like perfect organism xenomorph energy, where I want to stab fascists with a prehensile tail. And I put it in the polysexual colors, which aren't like, it's more of like if you know you know kind of thing. So I was like, this is a little more subtle. Which that was kind of my vibe, like that I was looking for. Were like other ones I've gotten, but they always have some kind of significance. Like one I got done when I was a pagan, of a phoenix and a mermaid, but it still kind of resonates on like a artistic level, for like a psychological level, between like the fire and the water, and finding balance between those two ideas of the emotional and the like okay, this is kind of my thing. So like the fire is like, I am a very reactionary, opinionated, like I want to burn it all down on the side again. And then like the water side of me, like the emotional side of me, it's just like, let's take a break. maybe we should just pull it back a little bit and think about that type of stuff, and because like symbolism is symbolism, and that's why it resonates so much with us as human beings. Is it anything outside of the psychological experience? No, but I'm an atheo-pagan. Symbolism is important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't think those two things are mutually explicit. Mutually explicit. Mutually exclusive. We're like art is supposed to inspire emotions. It's supposed to make you feel and think things. It's art doing its job. That's what it is. And so, and also I can look back on that time in my life, and like the relationships I formed, like the tattoo that I have of the mermaid and the phoenix, my best friend designed.
Oh yeah.
So every time I look at it, yeah, like every time I look at it, I'm like, Vincent made this for me. And like the xenomorph I got, he got like a tree of life done, and it was like he was turning 50, and I was like, oh my god, birthday tattoos, because they were 4 days apart. I'm like, we're gonna get birthday tattoos. And that was part of our experience, and we've been friends for 20 years. So, like that's a thing. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah, it'd be fun to get. Yeah, that's kind of why I like getting stuff done like with the group, because then like even if you don't get the same thing, at least like you all did it together and you have that memory to come back to. So
right, yeah, that thing is like, it's a shared memory, because then that night we went to a gay bar and went to a drag show, which we did not watch. We ended up in the patio drinking, but I met Brentley from the Punk Apostate because he lives in St. Pete, and we were in St. Pete. I was like, dude, you need to come hang out with me. And that's how me and Brentley met. Okay, are you like friends with the, like, have you heard the Punk Apostate? I'm gonna change it. No, like, I'm trying to help you. Okay. So Brentley and I used to do Left of the Valley together like a couple years ago, and then that's how we became buds. But he has his own YouTube channel. He grew up funny. And basically what he does is he watches like funny YouTube videos and then like makes fun of them. And I listen to him every morning while I get ready for work, because he's usually live in the middle of the day when I'm at work, but I have been on his channel. He's been on here. He is also a chaos goblin because he has ADHD. So like every time we do a podcast together, I'm like, I am so sorry for you for participating in this. But also, he also did secular sobriety. which was something he talks about a lot on his channel about someone that went through, someone that was an addict and then got sober through like secularism rather than like AA or like NA or something like that. So that's another part of the story too, and he's also really funny and also like a really like sweet human being. So like, again, I'm just going to call up people's channels, go to the Punk Apostate and watch his content, people. Like,
yeah.
It's really funny because, especially because like, I don't go on funny too because I love myself.
Yeah. I'll watch them. That sounds cool.
It's really funny because like, also too, like, because I don't go, like, I'm not in like the funny space, I don't know if I don't know what kind of content you consume, but like, I'm watching like, science videos, usually about lore, about like some D&D, like D&D or video game I'm really into at the moment. Or I'm watching like, like funny tube stuff, but because I want like deep dives because of like the trad wife stuff, like that type of stuff, like I'm fascinated by because I'm just like, what? And then that's how when I was mentioning before about like the whole, okay, so here's an opinion. Okay, I want to get your opinion on this. Okay, so you know how in the ministry that women aren't allowed to have any sort of fellowship or any sort of like leadership role, but on like especially for like Gen Z and millennial women, it tends to be like trad wife content, like, having certain ministries, especially like for younger viewers, like Girls Gone Bible, that type of stuff. Like, and I'm like, aren't you going against the doctrine that tells you that you shouldn't have a ministry? What? What? Like, is like, and Catholics don't do that because we all have vaginas and we can't, have a ministry. But it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of Catholic women doing like ministries on TikTok and shit. But from my perspective, no.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. That's great. Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, I feel like that's a good question because I did read recently that more Gen Z men are conservative than Gen Z women. So I guess that kind of surprises me. But maybe Gen Z women could be more vocal about it if they're conservative. So it's like a loud minority kind of thing. Whereas Gen Z men, if they're conservative, maybe they're just not very vote. Like they just kind of like keep it hidden. Maybe. I don't know. That's a good question though. That's my best thought is maybe they just could be just more vocal about it for some reason. But yeah, that does kind of go against their religion. But then again, like a lot of things are hypocritical about religion because I think something that Dr. Ray emphasizes in like Sex and God is like a lot of people kind of pick and choose like what they want to follow in religion. And I feel like this could be no different than that. Like religion always says like, oh, don't masturbate, but a lot of people do anyway, right? So like just because a religion says something doesn't mean people will do it, or like they'll pretend to do it, but so it's probably just one of those things that like people pretend to do, but they don't. So,
well, like, because that's the thing I find so, like, as someone that is a feminist and a queer person and progressive, and I'm like, you're not going to tell me what to do because as soon as you tell me can't do something, I'm gonna go, why? And then if you don't give me a legitimate reason why, I'm gonna like, what the motherfucker? I'm gonna do what I want anyway. That's me. And you're the same person. Like, once you give me a really good reason why I can't do something, I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. So the fact that there's these, and I also find the thing that like feminism is the reason why you're allowed to release content, like even within, because you have a voice. If we were under patriarchy, like in the truest sense, you would not have a voice at all. You couldn't make content, but also the same, but it's like a double-edged sword because they're also holding up the patriarchy. And also at the same time is not realistic. Like I didn't know, like in like the Mormon religion, that you have to be like not only a traditional like trad wife, but you also have to be like thin and like sexually available to your partner at all times, and you have to like have the certain aesthetic. And the attitude is just like, hey, if you're 20 pounds overweight, you're not a sexual being anymore. You're not worthy of love and acceptance from your partner. And I'm just like, is it's very confusing because I'm like, why are you upholding these old values that you're not worthy of love and pleasure and all these things just because you put on a little bit of weight? Please explain.
It's also can be hypocritical too because Mormons have changed their mind because now Mormons let you have tattoos and piercings and stuff. So, but up until recently, they used to be very anti-tattoo, very anti-piercing, and still maybe like older Mormons are that way. But like as far as like cosmetic surgery goes, like they don't care about that. Like why does God think like a boob job is different than a tattoo, right? Like it's just kind of silly. So yeah, and cosmetic surgery is actually pretty popular in Utah too, which I know is kind of one of my pet peeves is when people say like Mormon and Utah, because like I think there's a very different thing between like Mormon things and Utah things. Because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of overlap, but there's some things that are kind of distinct, especially since I grew up Mormon in Kentucky. Like some things are something that all Mormons do, and some things I feel like might be more specific to Utah. But yeah, I've noticed like the cosmetic surgery, like since I moved, there's like ads everywhere about like cosmetic surgery and like tummy tucks or mommy makeovers. I think that's popular a little bit everywhere, but maybe more so in Utah than normal. So yeah, I wonder if that's a thing in like other religions too, like kind of like the perfectionism kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know
I
they have an
don't.
interesting church called. I think it's called it's in Maryville, Tennessee, but it's like a really big Pentecostal church, and all the women like wear like super fancy dresses, and it's just kind of funny. It just kind of reminds they don't really do cosmetic surgery. I don't think maybe they do, but something I noticed is like they wear like super extravagant clothes to church all the time, and some of like the comments were like, "Oh, so if God wants you to be modest, how is wearing like super high heels and like extravagant dresses like modest in God's eye?" I don't know. So it's just however people
So,
interpret it, I guess.
so speaking of this, like I was mentioning, like my friend Mary who wrote this book. So apparently, the way that she is in this photo is not traditional enough and not conservative enough, which
Wow.
blew my mind. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to dive deeper into that because, like, that's when my internet decided to do like a "fuck you, Helen," which is like to me the way that she's dressed and her posture is so submissive and so like like you are less than that my brain's just like, and she's like, oh no, I am not being submissive enough. I'm not me. I'm not being like the certain role. And I'm over here going like, what? Like, are you really?
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah, different. It just goes to show, like, which I know in like that type of religion, I think Amish tend to be more extreme than Mennonites, but it might depend on the sect though you're in. But yeah, like even like for example, in Mormonism, like obviously the FLDS are way more conservative than like the mainstream Mormons. So yeah, but that is
I
crazy. Like
don't
most
like this is the thing. I've been out of like any sort of religious structure. Because I left the Catholic religion back in like 2003.
yeah,
So, and then the pagan religion is so much more free. They're like free sex, free love, but they're like there's sexist stuff in that too. But for the most part, you can be queer, you can be a woman, you can have a leadership role, like, but there's also some bad ideas. Like it's a mixed bag. So, but I haven't been in any sort of fundamental religious belief structure ever. like even when I was Catholic, like I told you, like we were like my dad would be like, hey, actually learn about nature because the thing about Catholics has a lot of fucking problems. Science and religion are two separate things. the twines do not meet versus like other religions like, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I feel like it's also gotten a little bit better at time. Like they tend to adapt to the times. Like I know with Mormonism at least, Mormonism today is way different than it was like when Joseph Smith was around. And I don't know, in a way, like can you argue it's like even the same religion at this point? But yeah, something religions will do is like they'll try to adapt to keep people. Because like for example, what I was just talking about, like Mormons are okay now with tattoos and piercings, and I think that changed in like 2019. It was pretty recent, but like 20 years before that, that was like a big no-no. And they probably changed that maybe because people were leaving. So it's just like whatever to keep people in. So
Yeah, it is. I don't get it. I keep trying. I think like, okay, this is my kind of thing. Like, because I didn't grow up in those circles, like I've said this on our Forex talks. I've said this as an atheist activist. Like, I don't understand. Like, I've talked to Cara. Like, I've been like, I don't know what it's like to grow up in the IBLT. I don't know. like where you're taught that like slut shaming is okay, and that you have, or like you grew up like super super like funny Mormon where you have to wear like Little House on the Prairie outfits and like kind of submit to a man, and you're living in the Handmaid's Tale. We're all in the Handmaid's Tale. Like I don't understand that, and there are people that grew up like that, even if it wasn't as extreme as the Handmaid's Tale. There's still this attitude like your job is to be sexually available to your husband, whether you want to have sex or not, birth babies, and basically wait on him hand and foot. But also at the same time, he's supposed to love and respect you, but also you don't get a voice, which is confusing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And love is submission, and like I'm like, listen, I'm like, if I'm going to submit to anybody, there is going to be safe words involved. like what are we talking about? Like what? Like I didn't grow up in that culture, so
that
for
reminds me a
on the
little
outside
bit.
looking in, it's weird.
Yeah, that reminds me a little bit of the Transformed Wife, because I know she's been on. Well, like she didn't go on, but like Fundy Fridays. I think her name is Jen.
I love Jen's channel. Like if I
Yeah.
could be friends with her, like I like
That would
she
be
just
cool if you got Jen to be on your show one day.
Jen be on my show.
But yeah, she did an episode. I think she might have done multiple. I'll have to look on her YouTube, but she's done at least one on Transformed Wife. And honestly, part of me thinks like because of how extreme Transformed Wife is, like I wonder if she's just faking it, like just to get reactions out of people. Because like some of the things people say, I'm like, how can you say this?
There's this thing about being so extreme because you get clicks. Like I was listening to again Behind the Bastards again, and talking about the Nature Boy cult, and he would like be like his girlfriends and stuff on camera, and not because he knew it got in shares and clicks. Like it drove up the algorithm, and I'm like, okay, that's sick and kind of messed up, but you kind of get it, like, because like usually when I see something inflammatory online, I'm like, oh my God, like, let me share this. So is she kind of doing the same thing with this whole thing? Like, I can't wear leggings. I'm like, why? I'm wearing leggings like right now. Why? Like, because also I don't think anyone should be shamed for wearing leggings as pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, what's wrong? Or that whatever body size you're on, you should be able to wear a bikini. Fuck you, Barbara Walters. I don't understand like this gatekeeping that's kind of involved. And I think that just comes down to women, like the internalized misogyny that happens through religion. Like, even if you're getting clicks for on some level, like, the transformed wife is even if she recognizes that she is getting clicks for inflammatory responses, on some levels she's digested it and said like, yes, like, this is the type of shit we should be promoting. And we're all over here going like, hold on, bitch, what are you doing? like, no, I do not something in the 1950s, is like the 1850s. Like, what are you doing?
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I think there's more. I know, like Steven Anderson, he's kind of similar to Transform, right? Like he just is very extreme, and I don't even know how many people go to his church, but he's been banned from like every English-speaking country, I think, except for the U.S. because he's born here. But he's crazy, yeah. And I kind of wonder if some of his sermons, like he's just doing it like just to get clicks and like because he gets money that way.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a kind of wild ride. Like because before like I joined this, becoming an activist, I didn't really care about funny content. I just like I didn't care. And then but because so many people came from some kind of like really fucked up religious background, that I was just like, oh, I need, and now I'm just obsessed like on a certain level because it's so crazy. And like it is crazy. And I'm just like, okay, I'm like, I admit that the Catholic Church has so many fucking problems, but I also recognize those problems as like real world problems because like whenever you have power and corruption, power, money, and influence, you're going to get abuse. That is just the norm. Cat her. Fuck that woman. She's crazy. She's not a crazy person. Or apparently there's capitalism in heaven. Like you can go shopping. Okay, Kat, sure. I don't know why capitalism would be a thing in heaven, but it is. Anyway, she's crazy. Um, that being said, okay, outside Kacker, like it's so outside the norm that my brain cannot function because, like, again, the Catholic Church has problems, but like there was this idea that's like science and religion are two separate things. They are not the same size of the coin. That like evolution and science is real, and on this other side we have theology. And the idea is that God like kind of like birthed the universe, and then natural processes kind of took over, which was more acceptable to my brain than the Earth is 10,000 years old, and we hung around with dinosaurs. Like that type of stuff doesn't work well because I'm like, you have to do so many mental gymnastics. But meeting people that grew up in these structures, like Kara, I'm like, what? 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 Like it breaks my brain. It breaks my brain.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, same thing with what you're talking about the girls who are pushing like grad wife content. I wonder if they're doing it like just for like some of them, like they're because some of it is just like so ridiculous. Like you can't be this way and be a woman at the same time, right? Like, yeah, you just can't. So I wonder if they're just trying to like give you because like people know that it's crazy, right? So
I think it's one of those things like where does the grift end and the belief begin, or vice versa? Like where is that line? Like I don't know where the line is. Like because we understand how popularity, and especially with online content, what gets clicks. Luckily I'm not trying to make any money off of my channel. Though if you want to support me, please buy me a coffee. I would appreciate it. Sorry, I pay like I have $27 that I want to make each month to pay for my my Streamlabs account. That's all I want. Like I'm a simple girl. I'm fine. But if you want to give me money, feel free. I'm not gonna say no. But at the same time, I also know this is not how I'm gonna make money. I don't care, honestly. Like, I just wanted to put something like positive and funny and irreverent into the world of the space of us that are, um, that do our stuff. Like, I think that should be a thing. But at the same time, I don't understand why, like if people are religious, but they're also like grifting and trying to do content creation, which brings me back to like the trad wife thing. I'm like, girl, you do not look like a 1950s pinup model and also take care of a 2-year-old because I've done that. And you do not look like that. Like, you look like death warmed over. like, like,
Yeah, raising well, I never raised someone that little, but I remember when I was in middle school, my mom had custody over my niece for a little bit of time, and yeah, I remember having like a little toddler around that, and that was like pretty, like even as a middle schooler, that was hard. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't know how adults can do this like multiple times if they have multiple kids. That seems too much. So
Like my mom raised five. My brothers are all. I have five older brothers, and they're all born within 1967 and 1977. So either
wow.
my mom was pregnant or like had popping out a kid between that
Mhm.
time. I guarantee that woman did not have any time to do her makeup. She did. Yeah, like I guarantee it. I've raised 2 children, and like I'm like, unless like I do my makeup for this show, and it's pretty much like, okay, like I'm home from work, I'm just gonna put powder on and some lipstick, and this is what you get. Enjoy. like hello. Because also I am very white without makeup. I'm very much vampire. So like I don't want to look like a corpse. I want to have some contrast. But that being said, also at the same time, like I do this for me. I don't like, but also at the same time, like the trap wife is like I look like a pickup model. I'm like, girl, you do not have a 4-year-old. You do not, because I think like if you're chasing after a toddler, you do not have time to look fucking hot. Like you don't, and which is also like toxic for men to think because they get on this idea that, oh, I'm gonna like marry this woman and she's gonna be totally hot and I'm gonna pop out kids and she's also gonna want to make me dinner and look bangable. And it's just like, no, no. Welcome to the real world.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't even know. That's
And
for
then you
sure.
get Steven, and then it turns into Steven Crowder. And then that's what that
Uh-huh.
happens. Like, that's what happens. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I promised my kid we would watch the new Hunger Games movie that they bought because they bought the Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds. So they bought it and it arrived today. So I have to go watch that
Ooh,
movie so I can be sad.
awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so
Oh
much for
my god,
having me on, though.
have you the new book that is Hamish's backstory. I'm totally off topic, guys, but the Rising of the Reaping. Dawn the Reaping is the audiobook and the voice actor that does Hamish's voice and also the other characters will make you cry. So I highly recommend you, if you wanted to learn about totalitarian government and child murder, please go listen to this book. But like we are gonna watch the film because I did listen to the book on audio tape, but my oldest bought the movie, so I was like, and they bought it last night because we were talking about it, so we had to go watch it. So we're gonna go do that, and I'm probably gonna cry. So that will be a thing. But Peter Dinklage is in it, and he's very pretty. So
Yeah, there you go.
there's very pretty
I'll
people
have
in
to
this
get that
movie.
movie.
So
That sounds pretty
like,
good.
did you read that? Did you read the original series?
Of the Hunger Games?
Yeah,
Yes, but it was like when it first came out, so it's been a very
yeah.
long time.
That's
But I did.
that. So, just a side note. So like, with the new movie, there's been a lot of thirst traps for
Uh-huh.
Snow, who is a dictator. And Susan
Mm.
Collins, like, if you keep thirst trapping him, I'm going to write a backstory for Finnick, who was a sex slave at 14 years old. Do you want that book?
Oh my god, that's
So
crazy.
I love Susan Collins. like you want that? Because I'll do it. So yeah. So that's a vibe. Anyway, don't get involved with totalitarian governments. That's okay with child murder, everybody. Just don't get involved. It's just a bad idea. Well, so sure. Anyway, Emily, plug your shit. What are you doing? Do all the things. Tell the people what you and remind me what links I need to put into the doobly doo.
Me? Wait, what, are we asking someone to comment?
I'm asking you to tell me what you're involved in. So if I need to, I can put into the doobly doo. So for people, and then they watch this, like watch our future selves,
Okay.
or our past selves. When they watch our past selves, they'll be like, "Hey, I want to know more about Emily," and they can do the thing.
Okay, no, I gotcha. Yeah. Right now, I'd say recovering from religion is what I'm mostly involved in. Like I said, like I started volunteering with them in 2019, so I've been around for about 6 years now. I mostly mail out ambassador supplies for them, but I've done a little bit of everything throughout my but yeah, mostly ambassadoring is kind of my big thing. That's my favorite thing that I like to do, and I help co-direct that with Steve, who was on 2 weeks ago from this episode. So that's a pretty awesome gig I do. And then I'm also a board member for my term is for 2 years for Secular Student Alliance. So I'm really excited about that. And then I was involved with SSA also in college. So that's a great organization too. And then on the local level, I'm involved with Lost and Found Club. It's a local secular group here in Utah. They also do some bigger events like on the weekend. Lost and Found Club is great. And like I said, like the big weekend events, I would definitely recommend coming out to one if you have enough vacation time. I flew out from Kentucky to their Reclaiming Church camp, and it was a blast. It's a great organization. And then Oasis, I'm also involved with Oasis too. I go to their Salt Lake chapter, but they have chapters all over the US and into Canada. And of course, you can always start one if there's not one near you. I think their biggest ones are in Utah and Texas, and then Kansas City is also pretty sizable. I'd say those are the main 4 organizations I really like. Oh yeah, Sons at Oasis is great. Met stuff. Yeah, a lot of times they have really popular speakers come in, especially like if it's like one of the bigger Oases. So I'm trying to think who the most biggest speaker we've had. We've had a couple like professors, like well-known professors at like the Utah universities around speak. So that's been kind of cool. But yeah, and Will. So yeah, I think he goes to the one of the ones in Texas. So yeah, pretty cool groups out there. It's pretty easy. I just like to look up, like if I were you, I really like to look up secular groups and meetup or like atheist groups, and it's a great way to meet people. And who knows, you might find a group that you want to find. So yeah,
I gotta add that to my Oasis. I do have the Secular Student Alliance and Recovering from Religion. In my doobly-doo of Metro Secular Organizations, I do have to add Oasis to that. I did put it in the chat, so that can be part, because like I try to enlist as many resources in the doobly-doo as possible. It is the official term for the description box, doobly-doo. I got it from a D&D creator, and I just love the fact that he said doobly-doo. I was just like, that's perfect. So in the doobly-doo, so it's a term. So we'll do that.
Yeah, and I know Oasis too. If there's not an Oasis near you, they also have a Discord that anyone can join. I think it's called, maybe it's just called Oasis Discord. I thought it had a name, maybe it does. But yeah, they do fun things on Discord too. If there's not one near you, you can always get involved that way. Kind of like ACA has the ACD, or is ACD still around? I don't remember.
Yep, I was there just 2 nights ago.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, it's kind of like the ACD, but for Oasis. So pretty fun stuff.
Yeah. So there's plenty, like I'm going to include Oasis and now into the doobly-doos of my videos. So that'll be a thing. So do that. But I always include secular resources. I'm trying to cultivate a list for depending on, what stuff people need. So that's the thing. So thank you, Emily, for being on the show.
welcome. Thanks for
I'll be
having
back
me.
because this is really fun. Like, I would really love to have you and Eric on together talking about being like a secular activist couple. I think that'd be a really fun conversation to have. So
when is like your next available booking? And I can see. Like, are you still going to July?
My next available booking is let's see. I can do July 10th.
I'll talk to him and make sure it doesn't coincide with anything, but that would probably
or the 17th. Like July's open. Just tell me a Thursday night in July. Or I can also do a Monday.
Okay.
And I don't do Wednesdays. I try not to do like I'm not like I'm booked every Wednesday, but I do the nonprofits recording on Wednesdays. So that tends to be a night that I have to do it. I don't like to do Wednesdays, but typically Monday, Thursdays, or Saturdays work very well. So.
Okay. So I'll create a group message with all of us in Messenger.
Also, you can just like, since I don't really have anything booked except for like one event in June on the 9th on a Monday, you just tell me a night that, on a Monday, a Thursday, not Thursday, but Monday or Saturday you want in the month, and I may be able to do that. Except for
that sounds great.
No, it won't be till like later. Just do a Monday, or in July. I'm free. It's fine.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'm gonna go because I really have to go to the bathroom, so I'm ending my stream.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you guys. I loved reading everyone's comments.
Thank you everybody for being here. Again, come back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Apostate Sisters are going to be here. Yay! We're going to see Patty on. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So it's going to be next week. So come do that. And everybody, be kind, give someone a compliment, stay skeptical, and I will see you all next week. Goodbye.
Awesome. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Mwah.